In this video, we will talk about how to multiply mixed numbers. So I have two examples for us to work through here. Let's check out this first example. We have 2 2/5 times 4 1/3. So we have one mixed number and we're multiplying it with another mixed number. So how can we do that? Well, it helps if we can first convert both mixed numbers to improper fractions. And the way that we do that is we take the denominator. So for this first one, we'll do 5 times the whole number of 2, and then we add the numerator of 2. If it helps, some people call this the C method because the steps that you're using kind of form a big C. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So really, we can rewrite this as 12 over, we keep the same denominator, so 5. So 2 2/5 can be rewritten as 12/5. And then we're multiplying that with, let's convert 4 1/3 to an improper fraction as well. So we'll take the denominator 3, multiply it by the whole number. 3 times 4 is 12, and then we add the numerator of 1. So 12 plus 1 is 13. So we can rewrite this as 13 over, we keep the same denominator, 3. So 13 over 3. Now, when we have these fractions in this format, to multiply fractions, you just multiply the numerators, and then you multiply the denominators. Now, before we actually multiply, if we want, we can see if we can cross-reduce it all. So that means look at the values that are across from each other in the fractions. So a 12 and a 3, and a 5 and a 13, and see if you can reduce the numbers by identifying any factors that they have in common. So we'll notice that, for example, 12 and 3, they share a factor of 3, or they can both be divided by 3. So before we actually multiply these fractions, we could simplify by dividing the 3 by a 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then dividing a 12 by a 3. So 12 divided by 3 is 4. So now this just makes it a little simpler. So we can do 4 times 13. That turns out to be 52. Over 5 times 1 is 5. So we have 52 over 5. Now right now this is an improper fraction. We can convert this to a mixed number for our final answer. So the way that we can do that is we can use a little long division and say 52 divided by 5. So how many 5s will go into 5? That would just be a 1, so we'll write a 1 right here. 5 times 1 is 5, so we can subtract a 5. 5 minus 5 is 0, and then we bring down our 2. Now we say how many 5s can go into 2? Well, that would be 0, so we'll put a 0 right here. So 0 times 5 is 0, so we'll subtract a 0. 2 minus 0 is 2, and notice there's no more numbers to bring down, so this 2 is our remainder. So the way that we can write that is we can say 2 over whatever number that we were dividing by, this 5. So 2 over 5. So our final answer will be 10 2/5. So 2 2/5 times 4 1/3 is equal to 10 2/5. All right, let's try one more example. We have 3 1/4 times 5 2/3. So we have one mixed number, we're multiplying it with another mixed number. How can we do that? Well, first let's convert both mixed numbers to improper fractions. So if we start with the 3 1/4, we'll say, take the denominator 4 times the whole number of 3. 4 times 3 is 12, and add the numerator of 1. So 12 plus 1 is 13. So we can rewrite this as 13 over, we keep the same denominator, so 4. Now let's convert 5 2/3 to an improper fraction. So we'll take the denominator, multiply it by the whole number. 5 times 3 is 15, add the numerator, 2. 15 plus 2 is 17. So we can rewrite this as 17 over, we keep the same denominator of 3. So 17 over 3. So now that we've converted both of these to fractions, we can just multiply them. So again, we'll try to see if we can cross-reduce it all. So we'll look at the numbers that are across from each other and see if they share any common factors that we could divide by. Now, in this case, there are no common factors between the cross terms. So in this case, we're just going to have to multiply it straight across in the numerator and the denominator. So we get 13 times 17. That turns out to be 221 over 4 times 3, that's 12. So we get 221 over 12. So again, we're going to convert this to a mixed number as our final answer. So we can use a little long division again, where we say 221 divided by 12. So let's ask ourselves, how many 12s go into 2? None, so we have to move on to the next number. How many 12s go into 22? That would just be a 1, so we'll write a 1. 12 times 1 is 12, so we subtract a 12. 22 minus 12 is 10. We'll bring down the 1. How many 12s go into 101? Well, 12 times 8 is 96, so it looks like that's as close as we'll get. So I'll put an 8 right here. 12 times 8 is 96, so we'll subtract that. And 101 minus 96 is 5. And there's no more numbers to bring down, so this 5 is our remainder. So remember, we can write this remainder as a fraction over the number we divided by, so the 12. So we'll say 5 over 12. So here's our final answer, 18 and 5/12. So 3 1/4 times 5 2/3 is 18 and 5/12. So those were just two different examples of how you can multiply mixed numbers.